Helen Yee here with Eyes on the Game here at Team Barry Gym, being joined by Coach Kevin Barry. Happy New Year. Great to see you in 2020.
Thanks, Helen. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you. Well, I do know a lot of excitement going on for this year. A lot of fighters right now being trained by you. Can you kind of talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, we've got an exciting gym for the start of the year. You know, obviously Joseph Parker is our main guy. You know, Joe at 26-2. He's currently ranked number 2 in the world with the WBO. Joe will be fighting on the 29th of February at the Ford Center, just out of Dallas. We're in the finishing touches at the moment to get his opponent named. We have the 25-1 19 KO Umar Salamov arrives back into camp on Saturday. He's number 2 in the world with the WBO. There's a real possibility that him and Ramirez will fight for that WBO belt. We've also, my son Taylor signed a very nice fighter in Ryan Martin, and Ryan's 22-1. He was out of action in 2019, doing a regrouping year. He changed his trainer, he changed his manager, looking for a new promoter, and we've had him in the gym now for the last 2 months. And I think that, you know, at 5'11" and tremendous shape, I think that he's a extremely exciting prospect. Guido Vianello, our number 2 heavyweight, the Italian gladiator, finished 2019 6-0 with 6 KOs. The last 2 fights that we worked with him, he changed trainer after his 4th fight. Last 2 opponents, 7-1 and 8-1, were both step-ups. The last fight went 40 seconds, so he really made a bit of a name for himself in 2019, and we expect 2020 to be another very big year for him and his development. It's a young guy at the age of 25 that went through the Olympic program in Italy, is getting better and more skillful and stronger every single day. So extremely excited about him. And I've got another young Russian fighter, Mikrobon Sangranov. He's 7-0. He's the WBC World Youth Champion. And he fights at 154. We might look to bring him down to 147. He's a very good puncher, a couple of 100 amateur fights, another really nice addition to our gym. So, we're geared up for a very big in 2020.
Yes, absolutely. Starting off the year very strong. Speaking of strong, talking about the heavyweights, first off with Guido, like you mentioned, undefeated. Will he be fighting on that Fury Wilder undercard? Well,
we hope so. That's the plan. The plan is to get him there. We hope to be actually in the ring sparring Tyson next week. Guido just arrived back with me, as Joe did, on Sunday. And so he's still shaking out this week, getting rid of the jet lag. And next week, if everything goes to plan, we'll be sparring some rounds with Tyson and hopefully gearing up and getting ready to be on that undercard.
Well, what is kind of your timeline for him and his career this year?
Oh, look, he finished the year with a couple of 6-round fights, fighting 4-rounders before that. This is like, we're still in the development stages. He's had 2 fights working with our team. This year, I think our next fight is another 6 rounds, and then we'll build him into an 8-round fighter, and hopefully by the end of 2020, he'll be ready to fight 10 rounds. But he's getting better. He's getting more skillful. He's a very good athlete. He ticks a lot of boxes for me. Very disciplined, very professional in everything he does, and I'm really excited about his prospects.
Yes. But speaking of champions, the former WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker, like you mentioned, fighting next month. Right now, there are talks to if that WBO title is vacated by Anthony Joshua. Do you think it will be?
Well, look, that's it's a multi-million-dollar question at the moment.
I like asking multi-million-dollar questions.
There is a real chance that I think they've given him till the 16th of January to confirm which one of the belts, the IBF or the WBO, that he will defend. And I know that the IBF is the next in line. I also know that fighting Pulev is a much better style for him than fighting Usyk. We also know that Eddie spent a lot of time and a lot of money educating the UK public about Pulev before he got injured and pulled out of a fight, with Joshua. So you'd have to think that Pulev will be the front runner to be fighting Joshua, which leaves the question: do the WBO leave? Do they leave Usyk there in the mandatory position and grant an extended period of time, or do they ask for the two highest ranked guys to fight for the belt? And we're hoping that the later. We hope that they ask for the two highest ranked guys, and with Usyk being the mandatory and Joseph Parker being the number two, we would love nothing more than to have the opportunity to challenge for the vacant WBO title.
But what did you think about Usyk's heavyweight debut?
Well, look, I don't think anybody thought it was an impressive display. We know that Usyk is much more talented and much more skillful than he looked against Chaz Witherspoon, who he couldn't even put on the canvas. And as we all know, Witherspoon took that fight on 2 weeks' notice, and he didn't lose the fight because he was getting beat up. He lost it because he was exhausted. I know that Usyk will be better in his next fight. His body was still making the adjustment of going from 200 pound to the heavyweight division, So a lot of people looked at that and they thought, oh, we fancy our chances of being in the ring with that particular Usyk, but I think he'll look different next time out.
But speaking of Anthony Joshua, something that you said was very interesting going into his rematch against Andy Ruiz. You said that in that first fight, he didn't really look like himself or seem like himself. What did you think of that Anthony Joshua in that rematch?
Oh, I thought he looked tremendous.
Yeah, back to his old self.
I thought it was, he put on a clinic. The team and Joshua made a lot of adjustments. They realised that they didn't have to win every fight by a knockout, that they could stay on the outside, take the safe route, and win every round. And that's exactly what he did. He did it very easily, very comfortably, and a lot of people were very critical of the fact that he didn't engage. I thought it was a tremendous boxing display, a very smart boxing display, and one that took all the risks out of the fight.
Yeah. What about Andy Ruiz's weight gain and kind of his performance?
Well, I'm sure we're all disappointed, with him weighing at 283. And deep down, I know Andy was disappointed. As was the rest of his team. We know that he would love a redo, but that was his opportunity. He had a chance to become extremely famous by repeating his first knockout performance. But he just, boxing's a very tough sport, and, you have to make the right decisions, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to sacrifice. And, all those things have to be put in order. And obviously, Andy was enjoying too much of being heavyweight champion and not doing the work in the gym that he should have been doing.
And lastly, do you think that Anthony Joshua in that rematch would be able to beat Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury?
Look, I tell you what, I really don't know. I think that Tyson Fury's style is very, very difficult for Joshua. I also think that if Deontay Wilder hit him with the right hand flush on the chin, he'd put him to sleep. But in saying that, I thought it was a clever fight. I thought it was a skillful fight. definitely good enough to outpoint Wilder, but we know, a lot of people have been outpointing Deontay Wilder until he lands that right hand. And I'm pretty sure that Anthony Joshua, like the rest of them, if he got hit with it, would go to sleep.